For picks, props, and futures for tonight's action. Bettor Sports Betting wants to know what picks you're playing tonight. Tell us in the live chat on YouTube, Twitter, and the Bettor Sports Network app. This is Bettor Sports Betting with Fantasy Alarm's Dan Servodidio.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome in here to the Bettor Sports Betting Show on a Thursday afternoon. Appreciate everyone joining in here. I got James Grande with me, as always, on Thursdays, ringing in the weekend a day early, as he always does. What's up, man?
Happy Thursday here, Servo. Nothing much. A lot going on in the streets these days. You know, baseball.
Yes.
Full force. Full force. We're brutal day in baseball. You know, we get Shohei Ohtani injury. Never fun, but there's some basketball tomorrow. There's football today, and we're
FIBA.
some FIBA. We got football tonight and every day, and then the season's right around the corner. So, you know, good. It's a great day to be great here on this Thursday afternoon, Servo.
Yeah, and I'm trying to switch my brain back to some football, some NFL, and some baseball because I've been full into the college football things. We got week 0 starting up on Saturday, so. Betting picks for that coming out tomorrow on the show and an article. So keep an eye out for that. Of course, DFS stuff for college football we'll have for you guys at Fantasy Alarm. But yeah, we got plenty of news. We got the Colts playing tonight in the NFL preseason, and we might have a Jonathan Taylor trade coming down the pipe at some point within the next week. So that's a whole storyline. You mentioned the Ohtani injury, Trout back on the IL, which is a bummer. But yeah, we got baseball picks we'll give out to you guys later today for tonight's smaller slate. Only a few games tonight. We had some afternoon baseball going on right now, but we'll give some baseball picks out later. But yeah, we do got to touch on NFL stuff first, and we will give out some betting picks for the preseason games tonight because I know people are just itching that football scratch that they got. So. We got two preseason games tonight, and let's just give out some picks for these games. The first one, we got Steelers at Falcons. Interesting one because it came out, I think, like an hour ago. I saw the Falcons will not be playing their starters, which I think is meaningful here because the Steelers are, at least to start, in the first quarter, they will be playing their starters. So one of my picks right away, I'm going with the first half with the Steelers, first half spread, -4 on BetMGM. You get -110 odds there. I just think that the Steelers are going to have a huge advantage in this first half, obviously, with the Falcons not playing their starters, the Steelers playing theirs, and the starting unit has looked pretty good in the preseason so far for the Steelers. So, yeah, give me Pittsburgh in the first half, staying away from the full game because who knows what happens in the second half and beyond. But give me Pittsburgh in the first half.
You're gonna be a little disappointed when Taylor Heineke leads them boys down the field, and a lot of no, I don't disagree, and I like the Steelers first half makes a lot of sense because Atlanta backups are facing some starters, but that's why I also took the Falcons game plus 5.5 because you don't know what's gonna happen, and the report. I guess you and I read the same report that the Falcons are going to look at a lot of their their backups in this game. Yep. And I expect we just see Taylor Heineke for a half and then Logan Woodside for the other half. And they've looked pretty good in the preseason. Heineke, has been won a lot of games for Washington over the last couple of years. So if we're going to see Taylor Heineke for at least a half, I think we keep this game close. And if you think about Atlanta as a team, Arthur Smith has all been discipline. Win in the trenches. And if you can control the trenches, even in preseason, you're going to be competitive in most places. So I like the Steelers first half. I just like the Falcons, game.
Yeah.
To keep the Falcons to keep this game close, plus 5.5, which is even money over on DraftKings.
Yeah, and then you got another player prop you want to throw out there too, right?
Yeah, Xavier Malone. He was second on the team in targets, and he was the same article specifically mentioned him as a fringe player that the Falcons want to get an extended look at. And he had 2 catches for 33 yards in their second preseason game. He had 4 targets, which again was second on the team. And I think like when beat writers are specifically name drop, I mean, we're talking about rosters of like 100 players, in camp. Like when you're specifically mentioning a guy who had 33 yards and 2 catches in game 2, he had 50 yards and 2 catches in game 1, like that's someone who's probably making a name for himself and is a fringe player, and you do want to get more of a look. So I think Xavier Malone over what is it, 26.5 yards. And you can't find that on your standard sports books if you're playing over on Price Picks or if you're playing over on Underdog or any prop sites. They have these Xavier Malone receiving yards. So I'm going over 26.5 here. He looked good in both the first 2 preseason games. And again, specifically name dropped in this article that he's a fringe player looking to make the team. I don't think that's a coincidence at all.
Yeah, no, I like that. The thing with all these props for the preseason games, you got to find the guys that are fighting for jobs. They're fighting for roster spots, especially a team like Atlanta who's looking to throw some of their backups in. So and aren't playing the starters as we mentioned. So he'll be out there. I like that pick. The finding those gems on some of like the beat writer articles is always nice. So good call on that one. And I don't remember specific ones, but I feel like we both have been hitting on these props in the preseason, because it's like once you find one of these gems, I know like the first show we did was Dorian Thompson-Robinson. One of the other shows, I forget his name now, but it was a Seahawks running back that I threw out there because it was like, all right, he's getting backup run. So, you just got to find these gems. And Xavier Malone, I don't think we'll be playing his props during the regular season.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so either. But
now's the chance.
If you're a Xavier Malone fan and you bought his jersey, now is your time to shine.
All right, the other game we got going tonight is the Colts at the Eagles. And similar situation, the Eagles will not be playing their starters, and the Colts will be. So that is definitely meaningful. And again, one of my picks, I'm going with the Colts in the first half here, -3.5 on the spread there, -115 on BetMGM. You can get it at, it's just going to be another, starting unit for the Colts here with Anthony Richardson trying to get another game, because he played the first game of the preseason for the Colts, did not play the second one. So they're throwing him back out there with the whole starting offense. And again, the Eagles will not be. They're actually, Marcus Mariota is starting, but apparently he's only going to play like a series or 2 with the Eagles offense. And then it's going to be Tanner McKee in the first half the rest of the way. And then, Ian Book in the second half. But at least in the first half, I think the Colts are going to have the advantage here going against backups. I doubt any offensive starters play for the Eagles outside of, Hurts not playing, but I would be surprised how many defensive starters, they might throw their young guys out there, but I just think the Colts in the first half here. And by the way, when Richardson comes out of the game, we got Gardner Minshew revenge game time for Indy here. So give me the Colts in the first half.
Book it.
Ian book it.
Yeah, Ian book it. We got a lot of revenge narratives here tonight. Shane Steichen revenge narrative wants to stick it to his old team. Not that they did him any wrong. I mean, they got him. Let's face it, like they got him a head coaching job, right? Like they got him a head coaching job. I like the Colts here a lot tonight, especially if they're going to play Richardson, who obviously has been named the starter, made 12 pass attempts, and then didn't play in the week 2. So I agree. Like I think the Colts get a lot out of Richardson here. Reading some comments from Steichen, he was talking about the starters and how, it's going to depend on the flow of the game, how much they're going to play and whatnot. But Anthony Richardson feels like a shoo-in to play close to a half of football here. Just given, he was already not a guy, and as you know, because you are the college football guy at Fantasy Alarm and Bettor Sports Network, like, he didn't play a lot in college, Anthony Richardson. Yeah. Like this last year, he's a freak athlete who looks like he has all the skills in the world, but he didn't play a lot. So preseason feels like the best opportunity for him to continue to get more reps. So I actually, parlayed that Anthony Richardson over 68.5 passing yards here to your Colts first half -3, money line there, because I do think we're going to see a lot of Anthony Richardson. He looked decent outside the interception. I heard some jokes that like even his interception looked good in that debut, because there was it was a dart just like directly at the other team. So I do think the Colts are going to let Richardson go here a little bit and go over the 68.5 passing yards.
Yeah, I like that call because he needs game reps, and I'm glad that they're starting him. Named him the starter for Week 1. Because the Colts aren't going to compete this year. This is a rebuilding year, and I'm glad that they're just going to roll him out. And even if he goes through some growing pains during this season, I doubt they bench him for Minshew. Honestly, I mean, any injuries aside, it's nice to have Minshew there as the backup. But yeah, Richardson needs this experience, and I like this prop especially for tonight because the fact that he didn't play in the second preseason game, he's going to want to go out there and get some good reps in, again, with the whole starting offense, starting receivers around him too. So I'll throw out a pick again for the Colts here. I like Evan Hull, one of their running backs, over 28.5 rushing and plus receiving yards over on Underdog. I got it at. You could shop around for whatever the best line's in, but I do like Hull's overs in general. Jonathan Taylor not there, likely going to be traded. We'll see if it ends up happening, but either way, he's obviously not playing tonight. Their running back room, all these guys have a lot of motivation tonight, but also, Week 1 beyond to really show out and grab that, grab the playing time that's not going to be up for grabs if Taylor's off this team. And Evan Hull is one of those guys, 5th round pick this year out of Northwestern. I think that is huge for him because they have, on their depth chart for the Colts, they have Deion Jackson, who's been around. The Colts kind of know what they have there. Kenyon Drake is a vet. He's there. I doubt he plays much tonight in general. And then Jake Funk is the other guy, but he's more of like a short yardage guy, and he's also been in the league for a bit here. So as a rookie, I think Evan Hull gets some work here. And this prop here, 28.5 combined rushing and receiving yards. The first preseason game, he had 33 total yards combined there. And then he had just 12 yards in the second game. But again, that wasn't with, Richardson playing. So Hull's a great receiver out of the backfield. He did that a lot at Northwestern. So that's added in here with the rushing and receiving. I just think he's going to be on the field a lot. And I think he probably gets, 6-7 touches overall. I think it's going to be enough to get over this prop.
I like it. They used a draft pick on him too. What, fifth round pick this year?
Yeah,
yeah,
5th round pick. Listen, they got Kenyon Drake and Deion Jackson, but if Evan Hull comes out here and kind of shows something, he might end up being the starter if Taylor gets traded.
Right. Depending on what team he's traded to and if there's some type of
return,
running back swap. Yeah. Look, we've seen, there's not a lot of first round running backs around anymore. Bijan, Saquon, running backs are not exactly the first picks of the draft. So Evan Hull could be a steal here. And I like that prop, Servo.
All right. So those are our preseason picks for tonight. If you guys got any that you want to throw at us, definitely hit us up in the chat on YouTube or tweet at us wherever you're watching today, and we'll give some leans or how we're feeling about your own picks. Let's stick with the NFL vibes here because over on Fantasy Alarm earlier this week we had a bold predictions article that was put out by all of the Fantasy Alarm staff, and it was fantasy football minded with getting ready for your drafts. Sleepers, busts, breakout players, leading passers and rushers. And that's where we're going to look at today because me and Grande both made some predictions there, bold predictions of who could lead the league in passing, rushing, and receiving. And I think it's interesting to kind of flip that over, flip gears from the fantasy mindset, but also bring it right into betting And if you look at DraftKings right now, you can look at odds and you can bet on these for season-long futures for which player is going to lead the league in passing, rushing, receiving. So let's dive in right now. The leading passer for this season, your pick is Kirk Cousins, and you can get that plus 1,000 on DraftKings right now. I went with Justin Herbert, which is plus 650, but you got the little bit bolder prediction here. So I'll let you have the floor here and kind of back up why you think Cousins is worth backing here.
Yeah, so when you look at how Minnesota revamped their just everything from top to bottom, they brought in offensive coordinator, head coach Kevin O'Connell, from previous Rams iterations that won a Super Bowl. And O'Connell immediately turned it into a pass-heavy offense. The Vikings were third in pass attempts last year per game, only behind Tampa Bay and the Chargers. So immediately you're like, okay, you have a top 3 passing offense. And, Arizona was 4th. They're not going to pass as much this year. Kansas City obviously will be up there in the discussion. Cincinnati. So, there are some teams that can contend with Minnesota to be top 3. But regardless, if Minnesota continues to be a top 5 passing offense, that's fine. They then obviously had the whole Dalvin Cook fallout. Alexander Mattison named the starter. We haven't seen Alexander Madison's, full potential on display because Dalvin Cook has, for someone who's always hurt, because Dalvin Cook always dealt with nicks and bruises throughout the year, didn't really miss many games. So we didn't really see Alexander Mattison in a full-time role. If there's struggles, they don't really have a backup to turn to either. It's just going to be more heavily concentrated passing. And then Servo, let me ask you a question. What did Minnesota do early on in the draft this year? I kind of forget.
They spent a first-round pick on a receiver.
And Jordan Addison,
a dang good one too.
on a very good receiver. And if you remind me, what did they do middle of last season too? Didn't they traded for someone? I think
traded for another pass catcher.
Yeah, traded for another pass catcher. So everything you look at Minnesota coming into the year for a team that passed the 3rd most times last year, and for a quarterback that was in the top 5 in passing yards last year, things might be trending even further upwards. So I look at Kirk Cousins as a guy who now has a goatee. I don't know if you saw that look today, but he unveiled it to the world, and it just made me like this pick even more. I think Kirk Cousins has a legitimate shot. And again, we were being bold, right? I think if we weren't being bold, Patrick Mahomes would have been at the top of both of our lists. He threw for 5,000 yards last year. But I think if there's honestly 2 quarterbacks that have the opportunity to do it, it's the 2 that we chose. And I think we're getting pretty good odds. I can't knock on my plus 1,000 odds to get Kirk Cousins to lead the league.
I mean, last year you mentioned, so Mahomes led the league with over 5,000 yards. Justin Herbert was second, 4,700 yards. Tom Brady was 3rd, and he's gone. And then 4th was Kirk Cousins. So Cousins could definitely make that jump, as you mentioned, with just the additions on the offense. I like Herbert. Yeah, I mean, plus 650. They bring in Kellen Moore as the OC, which I think means something, that they are going to lean on Herbert to be obviously the point guard of this offense. And they have a ton of, weapons at his disposal. They still have Mike Williams, Keenan Allen. I love that they drafted a guy, another, team that went wide receiver in the draft. Quentin Johnston, just another, kind of a game-breaking talent, can go deep, can make plays after the catch too. And Eckler, great pass catcher out of the backfield there. And it's not like he's going to be getting, 25 carries a game. He's going to be doing a lot as a receiver, where Herbert is the main facilitator overall here. So, I think, Herbert might be considered like an easier choice here, but I still think that there's a chance that he moves ahead of Mahomes this year and becomes the league leader there. So, so Cousins and Herbert are our bold predictions for passing yards leader this year. Let's look at running backs and the rushing leaders this season. And you got a very interesting one. I would love to hear the breakdown of this one, because you are going with Miles Sanders, and on DraftKings plus 3,000 odds. This was a long one, and it actually, just to mention, it wasn't the longest, the boldest prediction we had there according to odds. Chris Murray had Austin Eckler at plus 3,500, so kind of keep that in mind. But and by the way, going back to quarterbacks, Chris Murray also had the boldest prediction in terms of passing yards leaders with Jalen Hurts at plus 2,800. So he's going bold here. I mean, the Hurts obviously, got the rushing upside, but to be the passing yards leader is pretty bold, I think. So, but yeah, going to running back. So Miles Sanders is your pick at plus 3,000. Break down why you think Sanders could break through here.
Look, the objective of the exercise was to be bold, and we're gonna get to receiver, and I may have lost point. I may lose points there when we get to my pick, but like I also picked the quarterback as the leading, yards guy. So how can I not pick his number one receiver too? So that was the Miles Sanders thing. The fit in Carolina is really good, obviously, and I think where I could lose out on this is the involvement in the passing game that we've all seen the clip of Frank Reich talking to Miles Sanders about him wanting to catch 50 passes this year, something that Miles Sanders did his rookie year. But when you look at Miles Sanders last year, and obviously this is a large part due to the Eagles offensive line and whatnot. The Eagles offensive line is the best unit in football potentially. Then literally when you just break down unit by unit, maybe it's the Eagles offensive line, right? They could be the best in football. Miles Sanders coming off a year where he almost had 1,300 rushing yards. 2 games he didn't start, so could we have gotten 1,300 yards in those 2 games? Potentially. The talent has never been questioned. It's been the health, right? The first, as an Eagles fan, the 2 years prior, 12 games, rookie year, 11 games. But Miles Sanders, for his career, is a 5 yards per carry guy. It's exactly on the button through the first 4 years. You bring in Frank Reich into the equation, who is now the head coach and offensive-minded first coach now in Carolina. And you look at Frank Reich as a coach, either offensive coordinator, who used to be Philly's offensive coordinator back in the day, and then moved on to Indianapolis head coach. And when you look at the rushing offense, per year, back in 2017, they rushed the 6th most times. They had the 3rd most yards. 2019, they were the 5th most heavily used rushing attack, 7th most yards. And then in 2021, obviously we know Jonathan Taylor, he broke out 5th most. So 3 times since the year 2017, and last year he was fired middle of the year, so we can't really count that.
Yeah.
2020 year prior to that was Phillip Rivers throwing 7,000 times. They don't have that luxury with a rookie quarterback in Carolina. I think that Frank Reich gets back to his roots. We're going to see a lot of rushing. Again, being bold here. I love the season Miles Sanders is coming off. So why not go to a guy that is going to get the ball a lot? Last year in a healthy season, 259 rushing attempts. Who's to say that doesn't spike now that he's not contending with Jalen Hurts, now that he's not contending with Kenneth Gainwell, or you name 7 different running backs that Philadelphia implemented throughout the year, Boston Scott, every time they faced the Giants. So thank you for that. So I think Miles Sanders, as long as health is on his side, could approach, 300 rushing attempts. And if we get 300 rushing attempts, it wouldn't surprise me to see Miles Sanders long shot lead the league in rushing.
Yeah, I mean, listen, as an Eagles fan, I am fully aware of the fact that they use 3-4 running backs every game and throughout the season. And it's just one of those situations where if he does get a full workload as a lead running back, he could break through and become that leading rusher. And yeah, I think an offense having, a rookie quarterback too, and Bryce Young, is huge for any running back to just get more volume and maybe lean on the run more if Young goes through some growing pains early, or if he, God forbid, don't want it to happen, but if he does get injured at all, misses some games, they're going to be going, leaning on Sanders for sure in the run game. So yeah, good call here. He finished last year 5th in rushing yards. So just has to go ahead of Saquon, Nick Chubb, Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, but it could happen.
Just has to do that. Just has to do that, right? Just has to do that. No biggie.
Well, listen, the yards he put up last year was also with Jalen Hurts running wild too. So
right. And if you look at the attempts, dude, you look at the attempts versus him versus everyone else in that top 5. I mean, they all had 300 attempts.
Yeah.
He had 200. He had 250. Just throwing it out there. Give Miles Sanders 300 attempts and see what happens.
By the way, the Eagles versus Giants doesn't happen for the first time this year until Christmas Day, December 25th. And I'll tell you right now, whatever show we got going on, it's a Monday night.
Dude,
I'm already putting in the Boston Scott anytime touchdown.
Dude, it is ridiculous.
It's gonna happen. I mean he might get one carry, but it might be a touchdown.
Dude, we have best of both worlds on this show, and by yours is the best and mine is the worst. Like, we have both ends of the spectrum. It is the worst feeling ever knowing that Boston Scott re-signed with the Eagles this offseason. The worst. I wanted to re-sign Boston Scott, or I wanted to sign him just so he couldn't score touchdowns.
They probably should have done that, honestly.
Ridiculous, dude.
All right, so my pick is Bijan Robinson, obviously the top rookie running back this year out of Texas. Going to the Falcons here, a run-heavy scheme. It's going to be focused on Bijan getting the rock a lot, I think. They have Tyler Algier there still, but I view him more as just kind of a pure handcuff backup type.
Yep.
I don't think he's going to take many carries away from Bijan. And, they still have, they have Desmond Ridder, and you mentioned Taylor Heineke, just two kind of like lower tier quarterbacks. So whoever's the quarterback for the Falcons this year, they're going to be going run heavy. And it's going to be Bijan getting the ball, probably 20 plus carries a game, I would say. And, so give me Bijan Robinson plus 1,000. I just, maybe it's not as bold, but I think for a rookie, it's bold. I don't have it in front of me when the last time a rookie led the league in rushing, but I would think did Zeke do it his rookie year? Is Saquon might have done it, but honestly, I've said this in the past in the show. Bijan Robinson is in the mold of a Zeke, a Saquon, where he's going to come out his rookie year and be really good. So give me Bijan here.
I love that. Me and Fancy had the debate. I think it was when he filled in for you, and we had the debate on whether he thought Bijan was going to be limited at all, and he took the stance that Bijan would, and I was like, I don't think that's Arthur Smith's MO to limit. He's going to run Bijan into the ground, because we know from Arthur Smith last year, he was drinking beers with his offensive line. He was all praise, run, offensive line. That was what he talked about. And he's not going to let Desmond. I mean, Marcus Mariota was throwing 15 to 20 times a game last year when he was the starter. And it didn't change much when Desmond Ridder became the starter either. So I like that call. Also, I'm looking.
I was looking too. So Zeke did lead the league in rushing his rookie season.
Okay.
And Saquon finished second just behind Zeke. So his rookie season. So, an interesting kind of comparison there. We got Michael Rojas chiming in on the chat here on YouTube saying Tyler and Bijan are going to split their carries just like last year with Tyler and Patterson. I honestly, and he also says expects both running backs to be on the field together. I do think that could happen, but Patterson's a very different, player, rusher than Bijan Robinson. And I think the fact that they have Bijan, it's going to be more of a true number one instead of a 1A, 1B situation. I mean, listen, Algier, as good as he was last year, it was still an undrafted rookie coming in.
Right.
And I wouldn't think they would give him a workhorse role anyway for that situation. But spending, the number 8 pick overall on Bijan Robinson, he's going to get the work. So, that's my feeling on that one. All right.
Yeah, I mean, I largely agree because you also think Algier got most of his work due to injury. Damian Williams injured game 1.
Yeah.
Cordell Patterson missed a stretch of the year too. So like, I know he was really good and they were just riding the hot hand after that, but like, this is different. They literally took a running back at 8, and that does not happen. And we've seen in years past, Trent Richardson got all the work, Saquon got all the work. Like when guys come out of college and get drafted that early at running back, they get all the work.
Yeah, and listen, when blanking on his name, the head coach of the Falcons,
Artie Smith.
I was about to say Anthony something. Arthur Smith, when he was in Tennessee and he had a true workhorse back in Derrick Henry. Looking back, 2019, Derrick Henry led the league in rushing. 2020, Derrick Henry led the league in rushing. So obviously, Derrick Henry's a different kind of back than Bijan, but yeah, I still like Robinson to be have a great season. All right, let's look at receivers now and our bold predictions for receivers. Yeah, bold. Put it in quotes because James Grande is going with Justin Jefferson.
I mean.
Well, listen, you backed it up with saying I'm going with Cousins, and Jefferson's the clear number 1 in there. A lot of teams might have 1 or 2 guys where the production's spread around, but Jefferson is set up to lead the league in receiving here.
I mean, like, I know they brought in Addison, and I know they have Hawkinson and stuff, but like, dude, he led the league in targets, he led the league in receptions, he led the league in yards a year ago. And I just took his quarterback to lead the league in passing when his quarterback was 4th last year. Like, yeah. I was bold enough. Aggregate, like if we did an average on my 3 bold predictions, I'd rank up there. Like Miles Sanders plus 3,000 was good enough. I just don't think when you watch him, there's just nothing anybody can do. There's nothing anybody could do about guarding Justin Jefferson. Now they have to, think about, well, last year Adam Thielen was slowing down, and then they went out and got Hawkinson to, add some depth. And now they added Jordan Addison. So now they just have another, like, really receiver on the outside. They can't really just double Jefferson every time because then who's not doubled? Hawkinson's one-on-one with a linebacker, or Addison's one-on-one with the second corner on the team. Like, Jefferson is going to have plenty of one-on-one this year. If I were to be bold at all, Servo, like bold, I would probably go Cooper Kupp as my bolder prediction than Justin Jefferson, just because nobody's talking about the Rams and nobody's talking about, Cooper Kupp just a few years ago breaking the NFL record for receiving yards and was injured last year and had a quarterback that couldn't throw the ball. And now he's not injured anymore and he can throw the ball and we're just still has Sean McVay as his head coach. So that would be my bolder prediction. But yeah, I mean, I still think Justin Jefferson at the end of the day leads the league.
Yeah, I mean, I could see it for sure with Cooper Kupp. So I'm going with Devontae Adams. He finished 3rd last year. Jefferson did lead the league last year, but Adams finished 3rd behind Tyreek Hill and Jefferson. I just think, Jimmy Garoppolo with this offense, I know they still have Josh Jacobs there too, where, probably lean on the run, which maybe scares me a little bit. But I just look at the competition for targets in this Raiders receiving core is almost non-existent. I mean, they have Hunter Renfrow still. They have Jacoby Myers they bring in, Philip Dorsett. They get rid of Darren Waller. It's Austin Hooper now at tight end. I just think Garoppolo is gonna really like throwing to Devontae Adams here, similar to what Carr just did. And I envision a huge season from Adams, who's done it before. So yeah, plus 1,200 on DraftKings for Adams there.
Yeah, really hard to dislike a guy who's gone 1370, 1550, and 1516 over the last 3 years.
Yeah.
He is something special. I think that's why. He's not even old. His first few years, he didn't play a lot. He's still in the prime of his career. So, and Adam Bernard giving us the business here. These wide receiver picks are as bold as decaf coffee. Thank you, Adam. Appreciate that very much. Hey, Adam, who's your bold prediction? Huh? You want to be bold?
I don't have one ready here. Let me pull it up.
While you get ready, we had Michael Rojas chiming in again on YouTube here saying his pick is CeeDee Lamb. with a contract coming up
Ooh.
soon, so he's going to eat. I do like that pick a lot. I actually almost went with Lamb over Adams, so I agree with that one. Plus 2,200 on DraftKings for CeeDee Lamb if you want to get that. By the way, the boldest prediction that was in our Fantasy Alarm staff by a few different people actually was Garrett Wilson at plus 1,800. Again, he's in the top 6 of the odds, so maybe not too bold, but I think that's kind of bold for Wilson in his first season with Aaron Rodgers. I mean, we don't, who's to say Rodgers isn't just going to throw to Randall Cobb and Alan Lazard the whole time? So
that's a good point. That's a great point. What do we got, Adam? What do we got? You got anything?
Just looking at last year's league leaders, and in the interest of being bold, I'm going to go, and I don't know what the odds are. I'm just looking at the league leaders from last year. But Amari Cooper, if Deshaun Watson in that offense is going to get going, he's going to be the number one target. And yeah, like there's Donovan Peoples-Jones and there's Cedric Tillman and there's David Njoku and stuff like that. But and I know Corey Parson likes to say once it gets cold out, Cooper goes away. But I don't know, with Watson in a full season, full camp, he's going to be the number one target. He's going to look for him deep. So that would be my bold prediction.
Plus 5,000 on DraftKings.
Yeah, and they did add Elijah Moore, your Jets ex.
I'm sorry, receiver. Who? When he actually does stuff on the field,
I figured there was a reason. I figured there was a reason why you excluded Elijah Moore because I see the bitterness coming from your microphone right there.
No, I mean, listen, like I understand the frustration he was dealing with, like, I don't have the role I have, but like, dude, after a win in Lambeau where you got your number one, first round pick wearing a cheese head, that's not the time to express your frustration. And to me, that shows you're not a team player. You can feel that way. You can talk about that with your buddies. You can't express that. I'm sorry. Not in public.
All right. I do like your Amari Cooper.
Be an adult. Be a big boy.
You're right. I can't fault you for that. I also can't fault you for Amari Cooper because I think people are in on Deshaun Watson in the fantasy space, and he did I believe Deshaun Watson led the NFL in passing like a couple of years ago. So there's an opportunity for Amari Cooper here.
Yeah, I'm looking. 2020 he did. Yeah, 2020 he led the league in passing there. So. Yeah, it could be in the cards. Again, these are our fantasy football bowl predictions article that's up on Fantasy Alarm right now. If you want to check out everyone's picks for a bunch of different categories, like sleepers for fantasy, but also teams that could win the AFC, NFC, first coach fired, different things like that. I think is all interesting. Injury impacts. So check that article up right now. All right, we got to get some baseball picks for tonight because we got plenty, just enough games to get in some of these best bets and betting picks. So what's your best bet tonight?
I'm going Ken Waldichuk up some strikeouts tonight, Servo. Over 4.5 of them, to be specific. Look, you look at Ken Waldichuk, large sample, things don't look great. Right, he has not pitched well. He allowed a lot of home runs to start his campaign, but he was a good prospect for the Yankees, and he was part of the Frankie Montas deal that the Yankees obviously whiffed on, and nothing has really panned out exactly for the Oakland Athletics either. But then you look at the recent stretch that Ken Waldichuk has had, and when you date back to July 25th, it's been a five-start span. Half starts, half long man, 27.5 strikeout rate. And the White Sox, Servo, since the beginning of August, lead baseball in strikeout rate against left-handed pitching, 32.5%. 32.5%. They are striking out literally every 3 batters, they are striking out. Like, that is a lot of strikeouts. So I'm going to go Ken Waldichuk over 4.5 strikeouts tonight. They used him as traditional starter last time out. I expect them to do it again, and he's going to get after it against the White Sox.
Yeah, good call. That offense has been one to target for pitchers for all month now that as you laid out. So I could back that. I'm going with another strikeout prop too. Is my best bet. Pablo Lopez over 6.5 strikeouts, facing the facing the Texas Rangers tonight. You wouldn't think this would be kind of a matchup that you target, pitchers for, but over the past week, the Rangers have a 31% strikeout rate against right-handed pitching, only a 259 WOBA, which is second worst, too, and at a 205 batting average, third worst over this past week against righties. And over the past 2 weeks, still, a 25% strikeout rate against right-handed pitching for the Rangers. The team overall is, 6-game losing streak right now, and the offense has been kind of part of that, just not giving pitchers enough run support and clearly striking out a lot. And Pablo Lopez comes in. He's been over this line, over 6.5 strikeouts. He's at 7+ in 7 of his last 8 starts coming into tonight, and 10 of his last 12 outings since mid-June. So he's on a roll here, and he's been over this line overall 17 of 25 starts this season. So a good track record here. And, his K rate is up to almost 30% this year, which is a career high for him. The outings haven't always been clean, but he has been lately. 1.22 ERA over his last 6 starts. And he's coming in with 3 straight scoreless outings too. So I think he can limit the Rangers here and put up a good start for Minnesota. Give me his over on his strikeout prop.
I 100% co-sign this. Prior to seeing the doc, I was also typing in Pablo Lopez over 6.5 as my best bet of the night. That was also going to be my best bet, because everything you said is absolutely correct. The Twins let him, even when he struggles, they let him go. Yeah. And even when he struggles, he strikes people out. Yeah. It's been just a thing. 428, he allowed 6 earned, 7 strikeouts. 715, he allowed 7 earned. He pitched 5 2/3 and had 7 strikeouts. They don't care. They let Pablo Lopez go because even when he's struggling, it's he can eat innings, he'll figure it out, and he'll keep the bullpen fresh. And that's what Pablo Lopez has done. He has not completed 5 innings. I'm looking. The last time he didn't at least get through 5 innings was May 15th. We're talking about the second month of the year. So he gets deep into games. You're guaranteeing a guy who's going to strike people out. Absolutely co-sign. It was with a bullet. That was my favorite play. But you typed it in faster, so I had to pivot.
Well, I wrote it up earlier today for the Underdog Picks article for on Fantasy Alarm. So I just had to, I had to make my best bet too. But I'm glad you're on board there, because it makes me feel confident about that one. Weirdly, that it's not juice to the over, which makes me think maybe Vegas knows something here, but I don't think so. So, all right, we're both on the over there. All right, what other picks you got for tonight?
I'll parlay one with my Waldichuk play. White Sox under 4.5 team total, and I'm getting some plus money on this. And I think it's interesting that the White Sox have one of the better odds this evening to score runs. They have one of the highest implied team totals, and people are just not giving the recent stretch of Waldichuk any credit. And they're also are we just not paying attention to what the White Sox have been? Outside the strikeout rate, they're 29th in OPS, they're 29th in WOBA, they're 29th in isolated power against lefties. And great. Eloy Jimenez is back. Woohoo, great. Tim Anderson's back from suspension. Woohoo. What have those guys done lately? What do we know that the White Sox are getting all this steam and all this love when they go back home and they just fired their vice president and their general manager? And is that supposed to reinvigorate the team? The guy who owns the team still owns the team. Reinsdorf, he's still the main problem to everything and is still living off the Michael Jordan era of Chicago Bulls, right? So I like Chicago to get blanked. And I know, there's going to obviously be life after Ken Waldichuk here, and Oakland's bullpen isn't great, but neither is the White Sox offense. So I'm going under 4.5 team runs at plus money for the White Sox.
Plus 145 odds. I love that.
Yep.
You love to see that. All right. So I got to throw up Michael Rojas is commenting again in the chat about some of his picks for tonight's baseball action. He's got Brandon Williamson under 4.5 strikeouts against the Diamondbacks.
Like that.
The Cubs at Pirates over 9 runs. And Zach Geloff, over 1.5 total bases, and Adley Rutschman over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs. I'll piggyback on that Zach Geloff over 1.5 total bases pick because that's one of my best bets here. -120 on DraftKings. You can get it at, but this guy's been really good in the month of August. He's hitting 351, 675 slug too in the month of August. Lately, over the past 7 games, he's hitting 393, and he's recorded, over 1.5 total bases in 11 of his last 16 games coming into tonight. Went 0 for 4 yesterday, but I think that's good for him to kind of get bounce back here. Going the opposite side of that, Waldichuk versus the White Sox matchup, I like him against Jesse Schultens for Chicago here. 4.64 ERA for him this month across 4 starts. He's got, reverse splits, allowing better numbers against right-handed hitters, better, power against right-handed hitters. And Geloff, by the way, is on the better end of his splits, better numbers against right-handed pitching. He's got a 699 slug. He's got a 387 ISO against right-handers. So, yeah, give me this rookie to keep it going, stay high here, and is over total bases.
Dude, his numbers against righties are sick.
It's crazy.
They are sick. And like you said, like best split versus worst split. Like Schulten's reverse splits guy, Zach Geloff reverse splits guy.
Yeah, they're meeting up. They're meeting up.
Dream scenario, dude. Dream scenario for Geloff here for sure.
All right. You got a couple picks for the Diamondbacks game. Brandon Williamson under 4.5 Ks was one of Michael's picks there, but you're looking at some of the Diamondbacks side of stuff.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, Michael's on our side today, Servo. He got your Geloff pick, and I think the Diamondbacks are going to get to him early here. I mean, they're one of the better hitting teams against left-handed pitching all year, so I put a little same game parlay here together, Servo. I went Arizona money line because I do think they win this game outright against Brandon Williamson. They have won a bunch of games in a row to put him back into the playoff picture right now. Tommy Pham, notorious lefty masher, 13-game hit streak on the line going tonight, and he's going to hit in the middle of their order. Plus Christian Walker to both get a hit. We know Christian Walker's domination against left-handed pitching for the large part of his career. And I like Merrill Kelly over 6 strikeouts. The line is set at 6.5, so this is a little bit juiced, but I originally had 5.5, but it got this same game parlay to plus 235 over on DraftKings Sportsbook. Cincinnati, we know how potent they can be offensively, but man, they are striking out a lot lately. They're top 5 against lefties. They're top 5 against righties. Mm-hmm. And Merrill Kelly isn't a guy that we think of when it comes to like strikeouts. It's not like, oh, strikeouts, Merrill Kelly, of course. But Merrill Kelly has had some big games in terms of strikeouts this year. There's been some big ceilings for Merrill Kelly, bigger than it has been in years past. And he has kind of transformed into a guy. I mean, we're talking about a guy 5 years into his major league career. First time he's averaged over a strikeout per inning. So, he has really reformed and refined his, the way he's pitched. And we're averaging, 9.3 Ks per 9, 25% K rate this year. So give me Kelly on the last leg of that parlay to really drive it home. I think Arizona's in for a big night. So shout out to you, Michael. Shout out to you.
The Kelly strikeout prop is one I looked at too because you mentioned that the Reds are just striking out a lot right now.
It's so much.
The young lineup is getting a little bit exposed in terms of strikeouts, so I could back that one. You also like so Tommy Pham is the cover of the MLB DFS value plays article that you have out right now, and you like another prop for Tommy Pham here.
Yeah, I mean, again, like he's been great against lefties. That's been kind of his MO for a long time. And this year before the trade from the Mets and now during his time in Arizona, like he has a 271 ISO, 363 WOBA against lefties. He's riding the 13-game hit streak, as I mentioned, and where Brandon Williamson struggles is against right-handed bats. 211 ISO allowed, 327 WOBA. Hitting in the middle of this lineup that's heating up, hitting in a lineup in front of Christian Walker. They got Evan Longoria back, who's just notoriously good against lefties. They have Gabriel Moreno back, who only hits lefties. So there's a lot of opportunity for him to score a run. There's a lot of opportunity for him to drive in a run, and the hits are going to be there. So over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs, minus 150 on DraftKings is what it is. But throw that. How about you just keep piling on the Diamondbacks props here, Servo,
Well, yeah, let's keep it going because I have a home run call in this game too for the Diamondbacks. So let's get to our daily dingers tonight.
And that baby is gone.
Now that's a dinger.
And I'm going Christian Walker. You like him in that same game parlay to get a hit. And I'll go one further. I think he's going yard here, plus 350 on DraftKings. A lefty killer. He's got a 358 ISO in the split, 633 slugging percentage, higher home run rate against lefties than righties too. He's got 6 homers in his last 15 games coming into tonight, hitting 345 too in this stretch. And Brandon Williamson, all 14 home runs he's allowed this year have come to right-handed pitching. He's had a little bit more home run issues lately, too. He's allowed 4 over his last 4 starts combined, 4.43 ERA this month as well. So, yeah, I like your Diamondbacks call here, and Walker's one of those that can hit lefties well. So give me him.
Let's go. I mean, listen. If the hit is a home run for me, we'll both.
And it helps.
We'll both
it helps like
that one.
Yeah, it helps your Arizona money line in that one too. So
yep, helps the Arizona money line too. Love the Christian Walker call. He was in my top picks of home runs because he's facing a lefty. I'm gonna go with someone who I think is gonna belt one tonight, Servo.
Oh,
and that's Brandon Belt. Brandon Belt. Thank you, Adam. Thank you. Appreciate it. I'm going to use that joke again on the MLB DFS show.
Oh, please don't.
I promise you.
Don't.
I'm going to use it again. I'm just going to go right back to the well with that one. So, look, Brandon Belt has been awesome of late, and you look at what Kyle Gibson's done, and he hasn't. Kyle Gibson in the month of August has been getting shellacked. He's allowing over 2 home runs per 9 innings during the month. And where he has struggled the most has been against lefty bats. 177 ISO allowed, 363 WOBA. And then when you condense that to the last 30 days, it's just a 60 plate appearance sample. 241 ISO, 392 WOBA allowed to lefties. Brandon Belt, on the flip side, 238 ISO this year against righties, 4 home runs over his last 10 games overall, and 4 home runs over his last 5 games overall as well. Brandon Belt over his last 30 days and a 75 plate appearance sample, 350 ISO against right-handed pitching. So I love Brandon Belt here. I think, again, he's going to belt one. Maybe 2. Maybe he's going to belt 2,
Listen, I heard about half the analysis you just said because I'm looking at Mark Pitts' comment here saying, I'll Venmo you $10 if you work that joke into the stream 5 times. I think he's probably referring to that next stream you got, MLB DFS live show with Impemba. Looking back, also, I had to look up your value plays article. You got Brandon Belt in there as well. And there is a belted joke in there for him.
It sure was.
This is now, you've written it, you've said it multiple times, and you will say it about 5 more times on the next show because you'll make $10 from Mark Pitts if you do. So
true. Wait, Mark, and I guess because John's definitely not watching because John doesn't watch anything that he's not on. He does not care about any of us. He does not care about any of us. He's only listening to himself for the next hour. If I do it 10 times, is every 5 another $10? How does this work?
You just gotta work.
I can make.
You could try to work it in, without even talking about Brandon Belt. You could just kind of work it in anyway.
Dude, I will make this the most uncomfortable hour.
All right,
for John ever.
We got to get out of here because you got to get ready for that show and get those. Start writing some lines that you'll be saying. Again, Mark's saying, sure, let's make it exponential. Wow, I love it. All right, so stay tuned. 5 p.m. Eastern, the MLB DFS Quick Pitch show with John Impemba and James Grande coming up right after us here on Bettor Sports Network. And then we got the High Stakes Fantasy Football show at 7 p.m. Eastern with Eric Balkman, so stay tuned for that as well. And then 9 p.m. Eastern, Dynasty Nerds with Garrett Price hosting that one. So stay tuned here all night, talking some MLB DFS live, and then, fantasy football stuff and Dynasty fantasy football. So appreciate everyone tuning in here. We'll be back tomorrow on Bettor Sports Betting. Awesome stuff, James. We'll see you on the MLB DFS show coming up. You'll make some money in multiple ways there. So, all right, everyone, good luck with your picks tonight, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bettor Sports Betting on the Bettor Sports Network.